doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
What do I think about amnesty for farm workers? I think it's the most grotesque thing I've ever heard. Are you joking? Amnesty for farm workers? We have like 60 million illegal aliens in the country. The country bears no resemblance to the country I grew up in, and it's not better, it's worse.
Yell at Tucker.
So I'm not going to sit for another lecture from anybody telling me we need to import more people to write code or pick grapes or any other task. Period. It hasn't worked. The country hasn't gotten richer. It hasn't become more unified. Those words should burn on the tongue of anyone who utters them. How dare you talk like that? Amnesty. How about deportation? What about that? I mean, look, and let me just say, people say all kinds of things. It doesn't mean it's happening, but I think it's worth being a little paranoid about it. I mean, I think everyone in this room is paranoid. It's important to make sure even the people you love are acceptable. And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan? Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying that. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying that. I've spent my entire life pretty much in Washington, where I knew and loved a number of people, including one very close person who worked at CIA. That has never prohibited me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things, murdered a bunch of people, participated in the murder of a sitting U.S. president. It's got a whole trail of crimes. That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person. It makes you a citizen. You're allowed to do that because you're not a slave. You're a citizen. And you have a right to expect that your government will not act against your interests, and you have a right to demand that foreign governments not be allowed to act against your interest. That's not creepy. It shouldn't be forbidden. And yet all of us have trained ourselves to believe that you can't say that somehow, that that's like too naughty and forbidden. And the effect of making that off limits has been to create a lot of resentment, and I'll say it, hate online, where people feel like they can't just say, like, what the hell is this? You have the former Israeli prime minister living in your house. You have had all this contact with the foreign government. Were you working on behalf of Mossad? Were you running a blackmail operation on behalf of a foreign government? By the way, every single person in Washington, D.C. thinks that. I've never met anyone who doesn't think that. I don't know any of them that hate Israel, but no one feels they can say that. Why? And I think the longer that we play along with it, the more subterranean and creepy and hateful the conversation actually becomes. So I think it's better just to say it right out loud. Did this happen? And of course, that question has been asked to the government of Israel, and their answer is, we're not going to tell you. And I think our answer should be, no. As long as we're sending you money, if you were committing crimes on our soil, we have an absolute right to know, did you do this or not? And yet everybody has been so brainwashed into thinking that's somehow an expression of hate or bigotry, when it's not. It's a baseline question that every U.S. citizen has a right to an answer on. What the hell was this? And by the way, if it turns out that it was nothing...
This is the eighth front. The disinformation campaign is among us, it takes a second for a lie to circulate the world, and then you have to battle it with the only weapon you have, which is the truth. And truth is slower than lies and more difficult to ascertain because you have to get the facts. When you lie, you can say anything, and it's instantaneous. When you tell the truth, you have to ascertain the facts, and until you do that, in the electronic age, boy, that lie could encircle the earth, 1,000 times. So it's a handicap, but we'll fight the information war too. Basically, you have the weapon of truth. We just have to be more efficient at disclaiming this, and I think we have to shame the media that does this. I mean, I know you're sort of tepid and mild about that. You should continue with your passion to speak for the truth and to shame those who spread the lies. I don't see any other solution. Do you?
No.
Always, sir. How are you, sir? It's good to see you.
Thank you, General, for participation first off.
У нас була дуже хороша розмова з генералом щойно, і дякую вам за те, що приїхали, генерали, і дякую за те, що у нас з вами є часті зустрічі, дякую вам, вашій команді також за те, що приїхали до Києва, дуже дякую. Ми вдячні президентові Трампу за всі його меседжі і справді міцні рішення щодо відновлення постачань для нас, і ми вдячні за двопартійну підтримку. І, звичайно, у нас була дуже хороша розмова у Гаазі з паном президентом, і у нас була телефонна розмова, ми ухвалили певні рішення, які є дуже позитивними для обох країн. І буквально щойно ми говорили про ППО з генералом.
Sanctions on Russia tomorrow? We're going to see what we will see tomorrow, okay? We have the Secretary General, as you know, Europe has announced sanctions. But I am very disappointed with President Putin. I thought he was somebody that meant what he said, and he'll talk so beautifully, and then he'll bomb people at night. We don't like that. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm going to have a meeting with the Secretary General who's coming in tomorrow. But we basically are going to send them various pieces of very sophisticated military, and they're going to pay us 100% for them. And that's the way we want it. And we've been trying to get that again. I don't think Biden ever asked for it. We're in for about $350 billion. Europe is in for $100 billion. That's a lot of money, 100, but they should be in actually for more than us. So as we send equipment, they're going to reimburse us for that equipment. Doesn't that sound good? That's the way it should have been a long time ago.
Dani. Oh, Jesus. Folk kan ikke lide ham. Jeg vil ikke bare lide ham.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Thanks for joining us today. It's been a long weekend. Hope you had a good weekend. We are raring to go this week. We've got so much to go through. The big reveal and the end game is what we're getting to here. It seems to us that just a lot of things are coming into play that kind of makes us see what's actually going on. We're going to stay on this. I am your host, L Todd Wood. Today is July 14th. Here's your mission brief. It's Trump's war now as he renews weapons deliveries to Ukraine. That's significant. We've been talking about this, and this is not just defensive weapons, it's offensive weapons as well. And what's going on? We're going to stay on this. We're not going to let it go. We're going to continue to bring the truth to you, and you decide what's happening. But are we headed to World War III or not? We've been pushing to end the war. It looks like the opposite is going to happen. If you're going to deliver long-range missiles into Ukraine that can strike deep into Russia, well, guess what? Russia can strike back deep into Europe. And what is that? Why are we doing this? What is this for? Why are we supporting Ukraine in the first place when it is just a flashpoint to World War III? Again, we love the Ukrainian people. We've been good to them. They've been good to us. But this is not what we voted for, and we're going to stay in opposition to continuing the war in Ukraine and continuing the killing. We think it just needs to end. Is Tucker running for president? Wow, MAGA leadership is up for grabs. You heard that in the cold open. There's a lot of controversy around that, but we're not afraid of controversy here. We're going to talk about it, and that needs to be discussed. We're going to give the opposite side this week from the Israeli view as well. But that is something that is on the minds of a lot of people, and we need to talk about it. As Tucker said, whether you agree with him or not, we can't have certain subjects off limits. So we're going to talk about this. Byron Donalds and Trayvon Martin. We got an angry response from Byron Donalds' campaign this morning due to our article over the weekend about him supporting Trayvon Martin in the past. We linked to it on the article. You can see it on the Miami Independent. And we just responded. This was reported in 2012. We'll let the reader decide. And Macron's suicides. A lot of witnesses for Macron's corruption are committing suicide, like up to 20. How is this possible? Thierry Laurent is going to join us today to discuss big news, breaking news in France, and he is all over it. And he's a little worried about his own personal safety. But we're going to talk with Thierry. Actually, I taped it over the weekend, but we're going to play that for you. And electric vehicle apocalypse in Miami. The city is being transformed into a EV paradise that doesn't work. Everything's broken. The vehicles are broken down. The money's being wasted. The budget deficit is huge, and it's not good in Miami-Dade. So a lot of these issues are really across the country, but they're microcosm in certain cities that we want to highlight where we have people on the ground and can bring you exactly what's going on. I want to say hello to the crew. Thank you for joining us today. You're cleared hot in the chat. Please check out whatfinger.com. Excuse me, our aggregator site that we love that helps us and puts out a lot of our content. Thank you for that. We'll be right back. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to discuss everything we just talked about. And we have the Georgia crew today who's going to come in and continue. We're the only outlet talking about the corruption in Georgia. So please stay with us. We'll be right back. The bird flu is circulating. We're getting more and more press, more fear mongering, more warnings about this. First, let's start with that. What say you on?
Well, what I say is it specifically is not circulating. It's in animals. There's one human, maybe two transmissions, no human-to-human transmission. And stand by, everybody. If there is some sort of sudden human-to-human transmission, you should immediately be suspicious that gain of function was involved with that. Just the fact that they're taking an animal virus and going nuts on it in the press and talking about it all the time, that to me leads me to believe that they have concerns that somebody is doing something with that virus, because this would not happen naturally, in my opinion.
Our world is changing rapidly. Many crucial systems we depend upon are collapsing. And the most important system that is failing is the food supply.
Mr. President, this Council is more than aware of the multiple challenges and threats the world is facing today. But the threat of famine, people starving slowly to death, must be a red line.
These food prices are going to keep going up and up, and they're going to keep feeding excuse after excuse, narrative after narrative.
Yeah,
so you're going to have to get off that treadmill and start getting more autonomous with your own food growing.
You want to make sure that you can eat, because frankly, food is the biggest issue as we are going through these transitions.
But amidst the chaos, there is a path to resilience. Marjorie Wildcraft is the female leader of the survival and preparedness movement. Marjorie has taught millions of people how to grow an abundance of food in a grid-down situation, even if you have no experience, are older, or out of shape.
I've spent decades finding the fastest, easiest, and funnest ways for the average person to be able to grow a lot of food. I've created a step-by-step process that's so simple that even kids to elders have been using it in order to grow a lot of their own food. And you can too, even if you have no experience, you're older, or you're out of shape.
Growing your own food is like printing your own money. Get started today.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Make sure you join us tomorrow with Pete Blaber at 11, second hour in the show. We're going to have a Ukraine sit rep. It's going to be really interesting. What's going on in Ukraine? Why is Trump providing offensive weapons to Ukraine to continue pushing us into World War III? That is the question, and we will try to answer it tomorrow with Pete Blaber, former commander of an elite special operations force. I was told I can't say the name anymore, so I won't say the name. But anyway, join us tomorrow, second hour with Pete Blaber on Ukraine Sit Rep. And also in the ad, cdmfood.com, cdmfood.com. Check it out. You need to be preparing and grow your own food and your own nutrition, and make sure you are providing the best nutrition for your family. There's a lot of, nutrient deficits in a lot of even the organic food. They may not have the pesticides, but they also don't have the nutrients that a lot of the unorganic food gets put into the soil for them. And by the way, we're going to have Dr. Waterman on this week, who is fantastic on Nucleo. He's the developer of this product, but really smart on micronutrition, and just a fantastic guy. We've had him on once, but we should have him back. We're also going to have Marjorie Wildcraft back this week to talk about food and how to grow it. Even if you're old and out of shape and don't have much room and just have a balcony, you can still grow a lot of your own food. And the Grow Network is a way to do that. So check out cdmfood.com. Now, I sat down with Thierry Laurent this week and over the weekend, and he's really concerned, and I've never seen him this upset and concerned, but I think you'll understand the reason why. It looks like a lot of witnesses in the French corruption probes are being Arkancided, suicided, and he's not happy about it and very concerned about what's coming in France. So I'm going to play this for you, and you make your own call as to what's going on. Here we go. So we're honored to have back with us Thierry Laurent. He's a geopolitical analyst in France. And I asked him to come on because there's a lot dropping on Brigitte Macron and other French issues. What's happening in France, my friend?
Oh my God, Todd, this is becoming just out of control, totally. There are things that are not that funny, but things that are really, really funny. So listen to that. Let's go for this report.
Sure.
First of all, for the last 6 months, we are facing a number of assassination and suicide that is out of control, and never ever in the history of France we have been facing such a phenomenon. Within the Minister of Economy and Finance, 20 people committed suicide. 20.
Wow.
Do you hear the number?
They were Arkancided, as we say in the U.S. Suicide.
Yeah, kind of suicide, Epstein style, perhaps. We don't know.
Right, right.
We have the free agents of our internal services. We have Eric Denessé, a former intelligence military from the Navy, with whom I was in contact, and we were scheduling to put together a show on TV. And we have been exchanging a lot of information in the last month. Actually, I was about, in fact, to meet him. He was not answering SMS, and I was just wondering why. And one of my friend lawyers has been calling me and telling me that he has been suicided. I do not believe a second that this has been happening. And he was actually extremely harsh in regard of the policy that Macron has been implementing against Russia. And he was explaining, in fact, the rise of Nazism in Ukraine that was causing a lot of damage to the image of the country, and also a major problem to sell the narrative that has been set up since the beginning of the SVO operation that was justified by Vladimir Putin for the same reason. And actually, you know my story, you know I've been living in Ukraine, and I saw the rise of Nazism, and actually these guys have been putting together the coup of Maidan, and I was a witness out of it. So later on, we, something a few days ago actually, one of our major deputy within the parliament has been committing suicide by hanging himself when he was just about to release a book to point out how Macron has been robbing money out of the state by selling one of our major assets, which is Alstom. So you can imagine that there is a suspicion that is raising. 24 hours ago, this is one of our major comics that committed suicide again. He was thrown through the window of his apartment. And the justification was about that he was trying to grab his telephone that was falling. What the heck is going on? And this guy was really, really harsh in regard of the way that our politicians are behaving toward the population. So there is this kind of, it's like a little bit like the COVID, you know? It seems that there is a pandemic of suicide in France, which is impossible to justify. On top of it, right now, we have a big story. So let's talk about the story of Brigitte Macron or Brie Michel. We don't know. You know that there was a journalist of investigation that has been digging into this story. And what we have been hearing from her lawyer, the name of this journalist is Nathalie Ray, is that one, in front of the appeal court, the judge has been dismissing the suit against the journalist, saying that she has been doing a great job and there was no way to sue her for, how do you call this, defamation. We are hearing from the same lawyer that all the proof against the journalist were fabricated.
Wow.
We are hearing that there was a sort of cabal that has been set up between the procurer, the lawyers, and the judge to make sure that she will be punished by court. And today, this entire story is reversing at the point that Natasha Ray decided, in fact, to sue the procurer, the lawyers, the judge. She's asking for the dismissal of the judge, and she's suing them to court. This is a big scandal in France. And actually, what was unbelievable is that the journalists, they were just rushing into the court, in fact, to listen to the verdict. And when, in fact, the appeal court has been saying, it's out of question, we will be suing and punishing this woman, all the journalists were completely, like, crushed, you know. And that was a big disappointment for them because they were about, in fact, to lynch on the public place, mediatically speaking, a woman that has a cancer. We need to remember that one of the journalists that has been putting together this investigation has been found dead into a river with some sleeping pill in the stomach in a massive manner. And there was no way that this woman would want, in fact, to kill herself. The second journalist is right now living in Russia because she has been asking for political asylum to Vladimir Putin. She's very scared, in fact, to live in France because she thinks that she will be killed. Can you believe this story? And the second journalist is living in Italy. Macron has been asking to put together a procedure of expelling him from Italy. And this is Meloni that refused, in fact, to kick him out. So basically, there is a big story that is brewing, and we are waiting for the next step, which is, in fact, the dismissal of the CEDH, which is the Court of Justice of European Union, because the lawyer has been asking for some information regarding the deposits of a lawsuit against, in fact, all this cabal. And the clerk dared to write him a letter saying that she has been trashing the entire affair in the way that it will be not instructed. So basically, this is obstruction to justice. This story is going to grow and to grow and to grow. And actually, the Nathalie Ray is asking for the resignation of Emmanuel Macron. So you can.
So you have a situation where Macron looks to have been stealing a lot, going after political enemies, possibly murdering them, and also his wife may be a man. So,
for the moment, the story of the sexual identity of Brigitte or Jean-Michel, we don't know, is not on the picture. But what is very, very fishy, listen to this one, it's a major one. Mm-hmm. We have a former minister that went on TV that dared to say that Jean-Michel Macron cannot show up in front of the Court of Justice because he died. So how come somebody that has been dying can sue a journalist alive? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. When do we see that somebody is coming out of his grave and saying, oh, I am going to sue this woman because she's a bad person? This is completely ridiculous. So basically, the entire story is extremely fishy, and something very ugly is going to come out of it. We are waiting.
What do you see happening, Thierry? How do you see this playing out?
Well, the Macron and Macron, which is in fact the same person, we believe, is just making go to the Supreme Court, in fact, to ask. It's a sort of Supreme Court, okay? I don't know what is the translation of this term because it's a very juridical, French-oriented, but it's like a Supreme Court asking, in fact, to counterpart the appeal that was set up by Natasha Ray. So we don't know what is going to happen, but in regard of the fact that this mafia has been putting together a mechanism of fraud to justice that might trigger another type of scandal that makes, in fact, Macron having to leave the power. Nevertheless, now we have another issue which is even worse. You know what happens in Aix-en-Provence last week? I was attending to a major economic week meeting, during which a certain numbers of executive, minister, and so on has been participating. Within it, there was two ministers of foreign affairs, one current, active, and the second one who used to be the one of François Mitterrand. That was Hubert Védrine, and the current one is Jean-Noël Barrot. So during 1 hour, what I have been hearing, and that's just funny because the topic of the meeting was about come back to realities, okay? Mm-hmm. During 1 hour, I have been hearing the disposal of President Donald Trump, Russia, and the BRICS. And we had a bunch of executives that were just spitting on the presidency of Donald Trump. When I was telling you during several shows that the worst enemy of the President of the United States, current Mr. Donald Trump, was the European Union and the European Commission, I was totally right. And those guys, they will do whatsoever necessary in the way that he will fail. So basically, he needs, in fact, to consider that his worst enemy, it is certainly not Russia. This is Europe right now.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I am in front of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and at the end of the show, they ask if people want to ask questions. So I grab the microphone, and I am addressing myself to the minister. And I say, first of all, I would like to tell you that your answer is going to engage you legally.
Mm-hmm.
And I am invoking the laws of Jacques Legendre, a senator that set up a law in 2007 and 8, stipulating that the support to Nazi ideology, whatsoever it is, it can be selling object, it can be showing off Swatika, it can be any kind of document provided or broadcast or declaration that you would do, bring you to court with 5 years in jail, 45,000 euro of fine. So I say, I've been living in Kiev for in Ukraine, 3 in Odessa and 6.5 in Kiev. And what I saw there is that there is a boulevard on the name of Stepan Bandera, a man who has been collaborating with the SS Das Reich division, and who is responsible for the death of 1.4 million Jewish. Actually, this is one of our ministers, Madame Simone Veil, who escaped Auschwitz, who has been putting together the investigation after the Second World War, in fact, to discover all the butchery that this man has been executed. And this boulevard is bringing straightforward to the monument of Babi Yar. It's a monument in the memory of the 33,771 Jewish people that has been killed the 29th and the 30th of September 1941. And so I look at the minister and say, are you endorsing the fact that a street can be a boulevard, a place, or whatever, can be on the name of a butcher and a Nazi? The guy just crushed down, and he was not knowing what to answer. Suddenly you go in a sort of diatribe, in fact, to point out the fact that I need to respect the Ukrainian people. But this guy forget one thing. I have been respecting the Ukrainian people during 10 years. I have been creating jobs. I have been supporting families. I have been supporting social project, including, in fact, the revamping of the orphanage of Odessa during and in 2006, for example, the kids were sleeping on the ground, and we have been raising funds in the way that the kids will be able, in fact, to sleep in a decent bed and having real schools. So what Monsieur Barrot has been doing for so many years, nothing but triggering and supporting a major war. And now this is the Ukrainian people that are suffering regarding, in fact, the situation. And when he was saying, respect the Ukrainian people, which one? Which one? The 10 million people that are living in Russia right now? I was in the office of a minister of Vladimir Putin something like 2 weeks ago, Mr. Sergei Gladyev, and with his economic advisor. Both of them, they are Ukrainians. They come from the region of Zaporozhye. So basically, are they the enemy of Russia? Or Russia is the enemy of their own minister? What the heck is this story? What does it mean? It's very simple. It means that most of the people within the European Union and the Commission, they have absolutely no clue about what is going on in Ukraine. They have no clue about the history of this country. They have no clue about how Ukraine has been constituted in regard of the fact that this pseudo country was just an oblast of Russia. It was just a region. And actually, the core Ukrainian people, they are from the west of Ukraine, and most of the people living in Ukraine, they are not Ukrainian. You have Romanian, you have Russian in majority, 46%, you have Polish, you have Turkish, you have Hungarian, and so on. And this geopolitical puzzle that has been constituted over time because of the Bolshevik is right now just collapsing. And actually, this is very bad that I couldn't continue, in fact, the way I was developing against the minister, because he was like, oh, I am about, in fact, to preserve the border of Ukraine because this is very important. And I wanted to tell him, hey, my friend, don't forget Yugoslavia. Don't forget Yugoslavia. It was constituted of 7 countries. It was an aggregation. And suddenly what happens? It has been collapsing. And actually, I was on a TV in Croatia with Andrija Kajic, you know him actually. Mm-hmm. And I was asking him, do you want to come back, in fact, to Yugoslavia? You have been deciding, in fact, to stay Croatian. Basically, what do you think about, in fact, to reaggregate all those countries in the way that we reconstitute Yugoslavia? And the guy said, no, it's out of question. And because, in fact, on the ethnic point of view, those guys, they identify themselves as a Croatian. But in the Donbass, in the south of Ukraine, this is exactly the same problem. Those people initially, they were from Russia. And suddenly, from a day to another one, they have been distributed, in fact, Ukrainian passport. And those guys are saying, no, I'm sorry, we are Russian and we want to come back to whoever we were. So basically, the Balkanization of Ukraine is ineluctable. We cannot stop this process is going to happen, and we need to make it very smooth in the way that this butchery is stopping. And the responsible of all this mess is the European Union, this is Zelensky, and this is all those neo-Nazi factions that are running here and there that want, in fact, to make the people thinking that the unicity of Ukraine is existing. It's not. It is not.
Well, it's speaking as an American, it's not our war. It's a border war in Russia, and it's not our problem. And we've been very vocal at this network. We just need to remove support and let the people decide on their own. We're not helping the Ukrainian people or whatever. We're depopulating the region. So,
it's very difficult, in fact, to define who is Ukrainian, who is Russian, because if you look at the history of those two, between quote, two countries, in fact, oblasts and countries, the intrinsic relationship on a social point of view is so linked, so imbricated that you cannot separate them. It's like, in fact, a mother with her daughter. It's a nonsense. It has been starting by a civil war since 2014, and it's continuing. And those guys in Europe, they want, in fact, to make it a World War III, and it has to stop, because Macron has been coming out with a statement 24 hours ago that is making everybody very scared, because it seems to us that this guy is just looking after that. He's just...
Well, that's what his job, I mean, he was put there. He's a puppet. He's doing the bidding of his master, just like Zelensky is. Just like Biden was, just like Starmer is, just like Macron, Merz in Germany, all of them are the same.
Yeah, those guys, they are using, in fact, the pretext of Russia to justify the federalization of Europe. We know how this is going to end. Look at the USSR. It was exactly the same problem. They were aggregating countries that had nothing to do together. Romanian with Czech, with the people in the Balkan, with Bulgarian, with Polish, and so on. And at the end, what has been happening? It has been collapsing completely, because those guys, they don't have the same language. They don't have the same mentality. They don't have the same history. They don't have the same way of looking at things. And of course, the same economic interests and geopolitical interests. And at the end of the story, it has been completely collapsing. This is exactly what is going to happen within the European Union, because we have been inheriting of countries that come from, in fact, the former USSR with Latin countries. All those people cannot mix together. And at the end of the story, this is going to blow. So basically, Macron trying, in fact, to project himself as the king of something that does not exist, that will never exist, and that doesn't make any sense to exist. You see?
Yeah, I do. Thierry, thank you. Anything else you want to get out?
Well, let's see what is going to happen next, because I am about to sue the organization that has been putting together this event for one reason. They are out of law, and they will have to justify themselves in front of all the Jewish organization in France, because if they accept what is happening in Ukraine in regard of the erection of hero of Nazism, they will have to justify if they want to see our street, our places, our boulevard on the name of people that has been collaborating with the Nazi or with Nazi criminal. And I am going to sue them. And we will see if the justice is still about in France, in my country.
Well, thank you, Thierry. We're going to stay on this, and we'll have you back soon as things develop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Todd. Have a good day.
You too.
Watching my friends gain more and more weight. And then eventually, I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
I'm David Cross, and you may know me from my election integrity work, but I also own U.S. Asset Management, an investment advisory practice. I've been an advisor for nearly 30 years, and one of the questions I get asked most frequently is, do I have enough money relative to other people my age? And while that's an interesting question, it's also the wrong question. The right question is do you have enough money to sustain your lifestyle for the rest of your life? This is a question you should know the answer to. This is what we do. Check us out at us-am.com and look for our big proud American Eagle logo.
We're slogging over Africa. Foot, slogging over Africa. Boot, moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. 7, 6, 11.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed. Thierry, a big situation going on in France, and we are going to stay on that story because nobody else is willing to report this stuff. It amazes me. I mean, you don't hear what you hear on the SCIF really anywhere else on Conservative Inc. especially. It's just not there. And speaking of that, in the second hour, we're going to have the Georgia crew on, and we're going to talk about what is going on with the Georgia GOP, what is going on with the continuing Ponzi scheme in Georgia, the charges, possible arrests, and the family that is running Georgia has been completely marginalized. And so what is going to happen in Georgia? What is going to happen to the GOP leadership that has acted in a very tyrannical manner? All of this is up in the air and something that we just want to bring to your attention in a legitimate way. And I'm going to start with some of these stories right now. here is Trump, we're sending weapons to Ukraine, defensive weapons, and also offensive weapons. This is a story that we have stayed on for some time. We're going to continue to talk about it because we think it's majorly important. In fact, it's probably the most important story in the world right now because this is the existential threat to the United States. It's not what's happening in Iran. This is the existential threat of nuclear war with the biggest nuclear power in the world, which is the Russian Federation. And we are continuing to push for a war in this region. In our opinion, we need to just remove support and let the border war play itself out. If Europe wants us to support it, fine. But this is not the United States conflict. Why President Trump seems to think that we need to be involved in this conflict, where we're now providing offensive weapons to Ukraine to strike deep into Russia. I learned a long time ago in war, the enemy gets to shoot back. And this is something that I just don't understand, other than the just extreme, insane push for war all over the world. But this is an existential threat to the United States, to the West, to Christian civilization, to humanity. And why President Trump is doing this is anyone's guess. We can ask the same question about Iran. We can ask the same question about the Epstein files. Or, some people are saying, well, the Epstein files were just a diversion. The Democrats were running it. Why not just come out and say, look, we're going to look at all the evidence and we're going to see what's real and what's not. And if we find something that's real, we're going to give it to you within 90 days. Here's the date, and give us some time to review it. Why doesn't he say that instead of coming out and saying nothing's true about the Epstein files? But what about Prince Andrew? He's out there. There's pictures of him with young women at Epstein's place. The woman who killed herself allegedly, said she had sex with Prince Andrew many times. Donald Trump's going to the king's residence here again, to the palace. It was announced this morning. Why is that? Why aren't they talking about Epstein? Why aren't they talking about Prince Andrew? Why is Donald Trump supporting the monarchy in London when they were involved in raping young American girls? Just simple question. Why can't we talk about this? There's obviously something else going on. At the very least, this is not being handled in a very good way, PR wise or communications wise. So the public has a right to be upset. So again, why are we continuing the war in Ukraine? We're going to hear what Trump has to say today, and we'll report more on that as it comes out. But there is a movement, a change going on with MAGA. I put this out over the weekend with Trump covering up Epstein DC blackmail operation. MAGA leadership is up for grabs. And is Tucker going to run for president? I feel that may be coming. I think Tucker is laying the groundwork for some kind of political movement. Whether he's in charge of it, I don't know. There's a lot of people saying, Tucker's father was CIA. Is he being created? Is this an attempt to divide MAGA? We just want all the information to be out there, and you can make up your own mind. But we're not going to be where we're not going to talk about certain things because, that's off limits. That's not what we're going to do here. And that's why we played the stuff on Israel this morning on the cold open. You can make up your own mind. You can listen to other points of view. You can listen to Tucker and decide whether or not you agree with it. Now, there was a statement we're going to put out. We just didn't have time yet today by the Israeli government on that. We're going to put that on the network today, their rebuttal to all that. So we'll post that from one of the Israeli ministers on that specific subject, what Tucker was discussing. And you heard Netanyahu in the cold open refuting that. So you can make up your own mind. But what we do at CDM is you get all the information and you get to make up your own mind. And if we see color that you need to know, we will tell you. But I can tell you this, that the Epstein thing has been handled poorly by the White House. I mean, they said in the campaign they were going to release it. Pam Bondi said they were going to release it. Cash said they were going to release it. Bongino said they were going to release it. Then they didn't release it and said it doesn't exist. I mean, that's not going to fly. At the very least, that's a PR disaster. And how about some better competence coming out of the White House on that subject? I've had other people reach out to me and say, well, this is 8D chess. Trump is really just, ignoring the Epstein files so he can go after the election fraud. Great, go after the election fraud too. But handle the Epstein issue in a competent, professional manner and don't lie to us because, they're lying at this point. And we don't know what's true, but we know that they're lying and that what they're saying is not true. And that is what is dividing MAGA, not CDM or not anyone saying what the hell's going on. So I'll end that rant right there. But there is a leadership vacuum in MAGA right now. How it will be filled, I don't know. Maybe Trump will, and I hope Trump will deal with this issue and get his credibility back, because he's lost it with the Iran war, with the Ukraine announcement this morning, and with the Epstein files. It looks like he's caving to the deep state. Whether or not it's 8D chess and he's just exposing people, I don't know. But, it doesn't make sense to us. Now, another issue, electronic vehicles in cities all over the country. This is the Miami Independent, miamiindependent.com. You can see this and read it and go to let me just put that paper up here so you can see it, miamiindependent.com. This is a very effective paper in Florida. We got beat up by Byron Donald's staff this morning. We'll talk about that in a second. But that means they're reading it. That means we're making an impact, and that makes me happy. So check out miamiindependent.com. It is the most honest paper in Florida, in South Florida specifically, talking about what's going on with the DeSantis administration, the election fraud in Florida. We've been all over it, and it looks like we're making an impact because they're reading us and getting angry. But electric vehicles run amok in Miami-Dade County. They are spending money they don't have. The equipment doesn't work. There is a climate change push in Miami-Dade. We know that's garbage. We know that's just a means to take away your ability to exist as a human and be self-reliant, because they can turn all this stuff off if they want. I mean, electric car, all you do is burn, carbon in the plant, and then you send it to the car. So either you burn it in the car or you burn it in the power plant. But this is not coming from the sun. Solar power is not reliable. Wind power is not reliable. In our view, Trump was right in his gut instinct. This is all a farce to harm the United States economy and Western civilization. So check out the story, Electric Vehicles Run Amok in Miami-Dade County. Now, also in the Miami Independent, I just mentioned Byron Donalds. We got an angry email this morning, and let me just read that for you, just so we can put it out there and we'll be fair to the Donalds campaign. We received an email this morning. Your outlet reports as fact that Byron expressed public support for Trayvon Martin. This never happened and is a political smear that is frequently shared by anonymous Twitter accounts to try to diminish the congressman's overwhelming conservative bona fides. In 2012, Byron attended a vigil in his capacity as a youth leader to promote unity and a nonviolent response from those who were protesting. He never publicly supported, in quotes, Trayvon Martin. Any reporting otherwise is fake news and campaign rhetoric being used by political opponents to be inaccurately smear the congressman. Well, this is an image from the Naples Community Park in 2012 by the Naples Daily News via USA Today, which says Byron addresses the crowd in support of Trayvon Martin. So you decide. We referenced this article, and we were trying to be fair to the campaign. We posted this on the article, but Byron is definitely the establishment pick for the governor of Florida, and it looks like that is going to happen, and they're very sensitive to any press that comes out. So with that, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to get to the Georgia crew and a continuing reporting, because we're the only ones that were reported on what is actually happening in Georgia. It's disgusting, and we're on it. So stay with us. We'll be right back on the SCIF. Thank you.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, MyPillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
Well, in the case of hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin, these are two medications that have been FDA approved for use in humans for decades. They are very, very inexpensive. Interestingly, available over the counter in almost every other country other than the US and Canada. You can just walk into a pharmacy and buy them like we buy Tylenol in much of the world because they're that safe. And we've known for decades that ivermectin has very strong antiviral properties. It has anti-inflammatory properties, and both ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine are what we call zinc ionophores. They help to move zinc from the bloodstream into the cell, which is where it needs to be in order to fight off a virus. So lots of application for these, and we have every reason to believe that those drugs also will likely have some efficacy against H5N1 or a number of other respiratory viruses that we may meet down the road.
If you haven't noticed, gold has reached a new high, all-time highs actually, and keeps going up every day. Why is that? It's because precious metals are a long-time historical store of value. And if you own a portfolio and you have assets in the fiat currencies, i.e. stocks, bonds, cash, or whatever, you're vulnerable to hyperinflation, which is coming as our debt explodes another trillion every 90 days. It's really scary. So how do you protect yourself? Go to Advisor Metals. If you look on any of our cdm.press sites, about halfway down, there's an ad for Advisor Metals. Click on it, fill out the form for your contact info, and Ira Bishotsky will contact you and talk to you. It's an easy conversation. There's no sales pitch. He's completely verified by us. He has a regulatory background we've checked into. We've checked with his bankers. We've checked with his IRA custodians for metals, and we can highly recommend Advisor Metals and IRA. So go to Advisor Metals. If you call them directly, tell them we sent you at CDM, and he'll definitely take care of you. But protect your portfolio because you really need to. It's coming. Thank you. Welcome back to the SCIF Metals, cdmmetals.com. Check it out. And that's for our audio audience, cdmmetals.com. Get some of these silver rounds. You can, silver is rocking, by the way. I think it's around $40. I mean, it's gone up substantially, but we think precious metals are just getting started. So if you have some assets in the fiat currency, maybe cash that you're earning nothing on, put it into some precious metals. We think it's a wise investment, at least good diversification, especially also if you have an IRA that you moved your whole life's 401k into, your whole life's work. Make sure your store value is protected there. Also, go to cdmmetals.com, fill out the form, and Advisor Metals will take care of you. We highly recommend them. We vetted them. We're not putting you into a Ponzi scheme, I promise. Speaking of Ponzi schemes, we're going to talk about that here in a second in Georgia. But I also wanted to just give a shout out to MyPillow, mypillow.com. It is coming up, the time where your kids go back to college. It'll be here quicker than you know it, or you need gifts for Christmas or whatever, birthdays or whatever. Don't go to the big box retailers. Support mypillow.com. Use promo code CDM. You get the best discounts, promo code CDM. But go to mypillow.com. Check out all the products. He's got 600 products. I guarantee you'll find something there, whether it's a dog pillow or a new bathrobe or pajamas or slippers or whatever. Check it out. Spend your money with Mike and not with people who want to kill you. Important safety tip. With that, we're going to go to the Georgia crew and talk, and I'm going to replay what we did on the Georgia show yesterday for what is happening in Georgia, because I don't want to recreate it. I want you to hear from the horse's mouth. I mean, this is really bad. You have essentially the GOP in bed with a family that was running a $140 million Ponzi scheme. Their charges have been filed. The government sees the business. There's all these interconnections inside the Georgia GOP leadership, and it's insane. So, and again, why is nobody talking about this? Could it be that Conservative Inc. that was promoting these products? I'm talking Turning Point, Eric Erickson, John Fredericks. They were pushing these Ponzi scheme products on their customers. Have you heard anybody talk about this? I don't think so. And there's a reason, because they don't want you to know about this, but we're going to tell you. So here we go. We're going to talk about what's going on in Georgia. I think this will be very informative.
Okay, great. Let's welcome in Brian K. Pritchard. Mr. Pritchard, thank you for making time this afternoon. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Great to be here. Always a pleasure to be with you guys.
So this week continued the drama and the unfolding of the problems that have stemmed from the company known as First Liberty Building and Loan, and their owners, Brant Frost and the Frost family, Brant Frost the fourth and the Frost family. And so that is beginning to have, I'll call it tentacles that reach out across Georgia, and both, unfortunately, toward the folks that I'll call them victims of this, what the SEC is now calling a Ponzi scheme. And, you know, the many politicians, it appears, across Georgia and actually across the country that have gotten money and in some cases may have given money to the Frost family or their ancillary organizations like the GRA PAC and other things. So it is interesting, and we wanted to have you on. I know you've been looking at this every day. So let me start there. I'm going to open the door for you. What do you think are the most important things for folks to be watching right now with all the stuff that's coming out about this?
Well, you know, the way the media is covering it, they're staying away from the Georgia GOP Inc. They're staying away with the involvement. They do write the stories saying a prominent Republican family, a prominent Republican, you know, donors, but they're not tying. They are focusing on the 140 million Ponzi scheme, but they're not tying the amount of political influence in the state of Georgia that this money was purchasing. And I want to put something together for your audience here, but let's remember, if you don't know these people, we're going to refer to them as the Frost family, and I'm going to explain why. Every single dime that they spent to influence a politician, whether it be nationally or right here in the state of Georgia, or a political election being the Georgia GOP Inc. state officer elections here in June, was somebody else's money, a retiree. You know, I tell you what's most troubling here to absorb, Bill, is reading the stories of retirees that trusted them, gave all of their money, and these people turned around and used this money for multiple things, but to purchase political influence. So let me say this before we really get into this. For those out there, and you're going to hear a lot of reporting, I did a 3-hour segment, a full 3 hours on this subject Friday. Bill, Todd, the Georgia Record, they're doing work on this, and we're working together on many of these aspects. But you're going to hear throughout all the reporting we do, First Liberty Building and Loan. And that's what you will hear. First Liberty Building and Loan. They're the business, the front that was used in this Ponzi scheme. You're going to hear Brant Frost the fourth, and then Brant Frost the fifth. Okay, so just to lay it out there, Brant Frost the fourth. This is the family. Thank you very much, Bill. Brant Frost the fourth, the dad on the far end. He is the father. The father. There you go. On the left there, he is the father, the fourth. He is the head guy down at First Liberty. First Liberty Building and Loan. Then you see Brant Frost the fifth, the young man there. That he was the front face. He's also in First Liberty. He's a part of the business, but he is the front man on. It gets a little confusing on the GRA PAC, and he led the way in most of the political influencing for the family. You hear us talk a lot about the Frost family. And the reason being is, I've had people say this to me, and I don't know about to you, Bill. Well, that's not fair, to involve the children. We're not doing that. We're not doing that here. The Frost family, politically, they've used all these children. Okay, I'm going to step out. I think if you look at this very close and you go deep, we're going to get into the Ponzi scheme. This is kind of a very sad situation because these children, including Brant Frost V, which I do not like. I don't like him. I don't like anything about him. But the entire family, Frost, we'll get into this. This is really deep. Krista Frost, the mother there, and the father groomed these children in what I would consider a cult. They raised these children to be part of this scam that they've been running. So another thing you'll hear is the GRA. Now, the GRA bill, I think you might agree, I've gotten some pushback on it, but the GRA came out and they made a statement about the Ponzi scheme where Brant Frost, the entire family, had a major role in the GRA. You will hear about the GRA PAC. There's two separate things. The GRA Political Action Committee was operated by Brant Frost, and the address went right to First Liberty's building. Now, why does all this come together? Is because $140 million in a Ponzi scheme where they played on people Christianity. They said we're pastors. Their compliance officer, Jamie Sickert, came from Cornerstone Ministries Investment, who a couple years ago, I mean, in 2008, was part of Cornerstone Ministries Investment, their compliance officer that filed bankruptcy for like $150 million.
Yeah. Let me draw a parallel if I can. Oh, go ahead, Todd, if you want.
I was, I don't have any proof of this, but I want to ask the question. In Arizona, there was evidence presented to the legislature of cartel influence buying mortgages for people. I just listened to the interview in Tucker in Maine about the CCP controlling the state with grow houses, hundreds of them all over, organized crime controlling the government. You have Kemp going to Davos. You have Georgia Chai Chemical being funded or protected by the Georgia legislature. My question is, do you have any thoughts or evidence about any associations with other entities that was using the Frost for these purposes? That's my question.
Not at this time. I don't at this time, because this is very fluid, and it's going to this is going to be for a long time, a very long time. And one of the points of opening up with this is these people, $140 million Ponzi scheme. It's been found that they've used over $500,000 of that money, and I would say more than that, in giving out money to politicians. Now, another thing I want to say is, folks out there, as you're hearing me continue to report this, I want to make it very clear. There's probably a lot of people that were shocked. There's two things here, because you're going to hear Colton Moore. All right. Colton Moore received a lot of money from campaign contributions from this family. Most people in America now know State Senator Colton Moore. Could he have been shocked 2 weeks ago? Like, I didn't know you were doing that. That's possible. And I really want to be clear on that. You're going to hear a lot of names in the next couple of weeks that received money and are totally shocked. I'm going to give you another one. A lady by the name of Jackie Harling. Jackie Harling up in, I think is it Walker County or wherever she's at. She ran for a state legislator, state House rep seat a couple years ago. And they gave her money. All right. And she's carried their water as far as the Frost family and stuff like that. The other day when this came out, or the first of, at the end a couple weeks ago, could she be just totally shocked? I didn't realize you were doing that. That's possible. But there's the other side of this, who was in on it. So I want to say this right now. I suspect there's an enormous amount of people that you might think, wow, I can't believe you worked with these people, that are totally shocked. And then there's a group that you got to say, wait a minute, were you guys in on it?
Yeah.
And there's a lot surrounding that.
That's what we need to dig into for
Yeah.
sure.
Let me go back to the family for just a minute, because something happened this week that I want to make sure people understand. Again, here's the family members. Right-hand side is Brant Frost the fourth, the senior. On left-hand side is Brant Frost the fifth, the junior. Next to Brant Frost the senior is his wife Krista Frost, and then also in the row of ladies is Katie Frost. And one of the things that happened this week was Brant Frost IV issued a statement that appeared, at least to me, in my opinion, to be taking full responsibility for everything on himself and excluding responsibility, or attempting to exclude responsibility from the rest of the family. That is not borne out, in my mind, based on what folks have actually done in their involvement. And their involvement's been pretty direct and visible. So one way is, as you said just a few minutes ago, Brian, that Brant Frost has been the face man, if you will, of First Liberty Building and Loan. Many people have dealt directly with him. I believe folks have reported if they went into the office or knew folks that had gone into the office, Brant would often be the one sitting in that office, greeting people or doing business or whatnot. In addition, well, hang on a second. Let me go where I wanted to go. In addition, he's been the one who's been talking often about the sort of, the foundation of the family being, a very Christian family. They're looking to help people build their own wealth and so forth. And as such, put out this kind of statement: First Liberty wants to help you build your kingdom to the glory of God and the prosperity of your posterity. This kind of goes back to what Pastor Dale said a few minutes ago. Sometimes religion can be used in inappropriate ways to support inappropriate or, in fact, dark things. And I believe that this is one of those examples. Now, the other thing that we need to keep in mind is Katie Frost had also been very active in a number of things. She was named Director of Community Impact, is my understanding, and as such was responsible for 5 figures of investment going to various communities. Direct involvement. And so just because Brant Frost IV comes out and says, oh, well, I was responsible and I want to apologize and so forth, that's great. That's fine. But that does not absolve the other folks that were directly involved. They were involved. You can see it. You can measure it. And in my belief, they need to be held accountable for what they did and didn't do. You will also find that Katie Frost and Brant Frost V were involved deeply in things going on with the Republican Party. Here's a group of folks from the recent convention, and there in the upper left-hand corner, who is it? It's Brant Frost V. And many of the videos that you'll see of the event, you'll see Brant Frost or Katie Frost or both moving around the floor and involved in various things, some of them not so friendly, like blocking mics and so forth. So I wanted to make sure we said that, because it would be wrong to have the public think, oh, well, this was really just one person. Does not appear to be borne out by the facts. Sorry, back to you guys.
No, that's why I opened up that when you hear First Liberty Building and Loan, you got to understand it's the Frost family. It really is. It's the entire family. And if you're out there internationally, because I know CDM has an international audience, the entire family has a role. The mother, Krista, we've done the story. The mother, Krista, her job, as we had other people that know the family very well tell us, that her job was the director. She directed the children as they were growing up, what they were supposed to do politically, the hook that they used. So let me just go. There's no such thing as a coincidence. Let's just go over a little bit of June. All right. Because I want to get into the Georgia GOP state convention cycle. Folks, let's be clear. This has nothing to do with whether David Cross won or lost an election as chairman. nothing to do with it. I've told David that myself. You have to remember, you gotta look at all the players on the whiteboard in what I would call a crime. Okay, not just First Liberty, the crime of corruption and manipulation and stealing a complete cycle and party away from the people. And yes, the Frost had that much power to do it. We have right now Brant Frost, the company, we know for a fact they solicited all the state delegates. So Brant Frost sent out communications soliciting all the state delegates. We know for a fact that they solicited to the fund, they solicited every state committee member. Now, we don't know how many of the state committee members have invested in their fund. We know for a fact. We know for a fact they've solicited, okay, every executive committee member, that they solicited them. And we're told by multiple sources, and no one has denied this. I've offered the denial. I've offered on my program to come on and let them deny that they have investment. Multiple people have come forward to let me know that 3, maybe more, current executive committee members of the Georgia GOP have investments in First Liberty Building and Loan. And I have been told this. I've been told this, and this is not a liability thing, because multiple people, and I've offered them the chance to tell me no. So I have been told that it's very strong possibility that the former chairman, David Schaefer, was invested at the time they locked the doors, and first vice chair, current Sally Grubbs. This is what I've been told. I'll say that publicly. Now, I say if. I leave the question mark. They have every opportunity. So, folks, you got to think about the level of corruption. Katie Frost will start here, chair of the nominating committee. Now, how do you become chair of the nominating committee? Josh McCoon makes you chair of the nominating committee, right? Katie Frost, chair of the nominating committee, was going to deny Lisa Pierce and Kylie Kramer an opportunity to be candidates. Now, forget, before a clicker is ever handed out at this convention, everything about the process was rigged, set up to be stolen. Now, it comes back to, I think it really does, if you start laying all this out on the board, it comes back to a panic of the entire Frost family. I think the entire Frost family was in a panic mode that they knew they were collapsing the whole entire time. They've already collapsed. All right. And if they lost control of the Georgia GOP, they could lose the opportunity to get more investors, maybe to get out of this thing or keep paying off the Ponzi scheme.
And all the work that they'd done for years to build political influence would be poof.
Now, Katie Frost attempted to keep Lisa Pierce off the ballot. Okay. It's got question marks. Keep Lisa Pierce off the ballot to run for first vice chair to protect, in my opinion, Sally Grubbs, the candidate for first vice chair, that may be an investor in their fund. Wow. I mean, wait a minute, folks.
How many different connections are there,
We don't have the time. They go on and on and on. All right. Josh McCoon is connected through years. Mike Crane stood on a stage. Mike Crane, former state senator, right? Former state senator, colleague of Josh McCoon, former state senator, who Mike Crane is who they installed as first vice chair. We won't go down that road. Who is close friends and has gotten enormous amounts of money from the Frost family that came from the Ponzi scheme, was the chair of the convention. This is not just about that. It goes to the level of control all around the state that they tried to put in place for several years. I mean, this is like I have called for it. I said it in the AJC. I've called for it over and over. I mean, who is Best Guest Media? Best Guest Media gets $5,000 from the Georgia GOP. Who is Best Guest Media? Is that for Katie Frost to go on? Listen to sometime today, the Georgia GOP will be having an executive committee meeting. Not for sure this is going to leak out somewhere what happened, but they're going to be having a meeting today. As we speak, there was some information went around Saturday, and I don't want to knock the individual that put it out, but it's not correct. Brant Frost did not resign from Coweta County Republican Party. These people at this point have not resigned from any position they hold at the Georgia Republican Party. Brant Frost, the first vice chair, I think is the guy's name is at Coweta County Saturday morning, said Brant Frost the fourth or the fifth had stepped back. He had stepped back. And in his absence, this guy would assume the role of chair.
Acting chair, I believe is what he said.
Because Brant was going through a current situation, didn't even call it an investigation. Well, for anybody out there that thinks that Brant Frost resigned from Coweta County, where was Krista? Krista is what? Is she the second vice chair? She's the second vice chair of the party. She didn't resign, the mom. So, yeah. I mean, Katie Frost is yet to resign from chair of the.
It really is amazing that's just straight up arrogance and it's like it's the same thing you see in Arizona in what's the county Maricopa, where they just refuse to leave. It's like this. You have to pull them by their fingernails out of those positions, no matter what.
Well, if you look again, if we kind of go back to the money flow, you begin to get a sense of perhaps some of the connections that allow this kind of, I'll call it avarice, arrogance to exist. In the last few days, going to your point, Brian, Krista Frost was discovered to have made a contribution to Candace Taylor's campaign. And the day she did it was June 10th. Amazing. June 10th is the day of the Georgia GOP convention itself.
No, the convention I think was the 7th.
Oh, I'm sorry,
yeah,
but this would have been immediately after.
No,
you're right.
The point is not lost. The point is not lost. Where did Krista Frost get the money from? The family cookie jar in the kitchen?
And it wasn't small. It was $3,500.
It's a lot of quarters.
Yeah, it was $3,500.
Yeah, and at the same time, and let me just do this. At the same time, keep in mind every single thing, and we're going to use the Georgia GOP Inc. Every single thing the Frost are doing with this money, First Liberty has collapsed. So when Krista Frost, this is one of many examples, when Krista Frost has the nerve to take $3,500 and send it down to Candace Taylor for what? What was it? Some kind of quid pro quo? I mean, they both served on the nominating committee. I mean, in the Georgia GOP convention. So when they do that, I want to give you this. If you guys get a chance, folks out there, there's a lady that is writing a great article. I'm not going to mention her name. She may not want to be on the show or mentioned, but she's writing some First Liberty's Ponzi scheme, the perspective. I'll get that once, of a victim. Now, this lady changes the name in this article to protect the individual, but she had a long talk with a guy and she calls him George. George invested $1,019,000 with First Liberty after being drawn in by a promise of a 13% rate. Okay. And they were drawn in by the compliance director there, Jamie Sickert. Now, it goes on to talk about that the guy wanted to make sure his wife had enough money to retire if something happened to him. It's a very, and the guy's a pastor, and the other guy at First Liberty says, I'm a pastor. I mean, this is all just the way this went down. But the point I'm getting at is when this guy is getting a phone call saying you've lost over $1 million and you and your wife lost all of your savings, Krista Frost is getting in the cookie jar and taking this guy's money and sending it to Candace Taylor.
So the question
Now,
is Candace giving it back?
Okay, you just hit on something there, Todd, that is kind of, I don't know what's happening here. If everybody's contacted their attorney and said, hey, what do we have to do? And they're waiting for an answer. And
Well,
I'll
you
tell
don't have
you
to wait
what.
for any freaking answer. You just give the money back, right?
No, what I'm getting at, but what I'm getting at is I have someone said to me, who do you give it back to right now? All right.
Give it back to the
right.
receiver, I
Yeah.
think. But
Well, no, you're right, but what is getting me right now today is I can give you a list of politicians that should be coming out in Georgia, forget nationally, and saying, you know what? When the Frost family contributed to my campaign, I was not aware of anything, and my heart and prayers go out to the people that had lost everything, and it's despicable. And as soon as I find out where the money has to go back to, my campaign will refund it. I mean, I would have thought by now that there would be an enormous number of these statements going out, and they're not. I haven't seen the first one from anyone.
yeah, and we're not talking about a few contributions. One of the things that is published in one of the articles that's been written here is a link to the FEC database. And just using the name Brant Frost, we'll publish this in the Georgia Record tomorrow. You can look up 358 individual contributions to politicians running in Georgia, but also in some cases running elsewhere in the country. And it's fascinating to see the names, even including, folks like apparently the campaign for Mr. McCormick appears to have received some money from the Frosts. Many of the U.S. congressional candidates look like they got money from the Frosts at one point or another. So the question becomes, as you said, Brian, what's going to be done with that money? And two, what was any other involvement between the Frost family, First Liberty Building and Loan, and these various candidates? You mentioned Mike Crane's name earlier in the broadcast. He appears at the very top of the list of ranked contributions. Looks like tens of thousands were given to Crane over some period of time. Go ahead.
I'm no, and that's why I said at the beginning when we went in there, I want to be careful because, folks, I'm not passing judgment on a lot of these people. Could be very shocked. You go through life and you're like, wow, that's caught me off guard. I never knew that. That's very possible here, is that the Frost family painted a picture to a lot of people that were not aware of this and are caught off guard. But that doesn't mean they don't have to answer and they don't have to make a statement. And, you brought up Rich McCormick. What is that called? The Kevin Bacon, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? Rich McCormick, Philip Singleton, Julie Singleton, Philip Singleton, Rich McCormick's chief of staff, Julie Singleton, Rich McCormick's communication director. Philip Singleton, the person that started the Freedom Caucus in Georgia. Philip Singleton, the guy that hired who? Katie Frost. Katie Frost was the very first executive director of the Freedom Caucus. You can't make any of this up. Okay? She's the first. She's the first. Now, this is not an attack. I want to be clear on the Freedom Caucus. I'm giving myself personally the Freedom Caucus. I've worked with Charlize Byrd. I've worked with a lot of these people. They've done a lot of great work. They have fought the battles, but the facts are just that. Greg Dolezal, state senator, I mean, he's not refuted it. I've offered him to come on the program. I know a lot of people that have sent him messages that maybe Greg Dolezal, a member of the Freedom Caucus, invested $2 million. And he's yet to come out and say he didn't. And the Freedom Caucus members, the GRA PAC, Brant Frost V, he sent a lot of them money in their campaigns. So this is not an attack on them, but Krista Frost, the Frost family, tied in. And this is where I'm waiting on some of these people to come out and say, look, we condemn what they did. I mean, just come out and condemn it.
Yeah, you and I have speculated for just 1 second, Todd. Yeah, you and I have speculated for a couple of years that with the pressure on the GOP and the GOP Inc. and all this junk that's been going on, eventually, somebody might crack and become a whistleblower. And isn't it interesting now with federal pressure on this? Many are wondering, is this the time? And will somebody that actually knows the answers to these questions say, hey, I gotta bolt for the good side because I can't substantiate myself and my role and the impact on my family of being involved in something not as great as I would like it to be. And so I think many are hoping that in the middle of this, some whistleblower will stand up and start talking about, what they know.
Let me ask you, Brian, what are you hearing on the ground with the guy on the street in really in light of the Georgia GOP being so corrupt and the convention being so corrupt? Is there any movement to, like, people are saying we need something different?
No. No, I mean, I've been calling it the 30%. And I mean, like I said, we're not getting into, did the election go 70-30, but let's just say it was a 30%. Okay. I sent a politician that's running for office, a statewide office, the other day, and I said, you guys better pay attention to the 30%. And the 30% is not happy. And when I say that, I say it just angry. They're angry. And as I said earlier, and as you well know in disclosure, David's a friend of mine, and I supported David Cross. I supported David Cross for chairman, but I've told David, right now, this is not whether he won or lost the election, and the clickers, which we could go on another segment. This is about the fact that everything about the Georgia GOP in the last 7 years is very phony, fake, corrupt. It's never been going.
That's my point. Are people looking for something different? Maybe you say no, huh?
Well, no, I don't know if they're looking for something different. I think they're waiting to see what happens. I mean, I think people would like to have their party back. I don't think I will
the
say
real
for
party.
Me, ask me that question. What do I want? I want the Georgia GOP, structured the proper way, paperwork filed the proper way, to operate the proper way. To be in place. I am a Republican, so I'm not looking for something else. I'll tell you what I'm looking for. I think.
Well, that's what I meant. Something different than what they have now.
Oh yeah, I think Josh McCoon should resign today. I think Lori McClain is the treasurer. I mean, Lori McClain. This is what I understand. The state committee. Listen to this, Todd. Your audience, listen to this. The Georgia State Committee, GOP committee. They have a meeting the day before the convention, or 2 days, right? June 5th, right? and you got 150 people in the room, and Josh McCoon gets up because of all of the, financial things surrounding him, his personal use of the credit card, FEC filings that are just, atrocious. That's another show in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And he stands up, and you have Lori McLean, the treasurer of the Georgia GOP, sitting there, unbeknownst to her, and announces Katie Frost is going to be the chair of the Georgia GOP Financial Oversight Committee.
Yeah, you can't make that up.
You can't.
Yeah.
Now, you got to think about this. I keep saying this. You got to think about when he does that, First Liberty is already gone. It's already finished, and they're doing this. Now, Lori McLean, I said this on the show the other day. I've not changed my position. I think the world of her. I really do. I think she's a great person. I know better than anyone out there today what she's up against trying to work with Josh McCoon. But that being said, at the corporate filing for the Secretary of State has 3 names: Josh McCoon, the Secretary, and Lori McLean's. And if my name was filed at the Secretary of State right now as treasurer, I'd go in there and turn the tables over and start going through everything.
It's forgery, right?
Because here's the thing: the Frost family, ill-gotten gains has been funneled through by donation after donation to donation after donation to the Georgia GOP. Now, I know we got to go, but I want to give you something else. When you run for office, there's in a state office for the party, there's no financial disclosure. That like you could spend $80,000 running for office. You don't have to disclose any money, where it came from, how you got it. When you run for state party office, there's no disclosure. So I'm going to ask the question right now: how much of the Frost money went into Josh McCoon's campaign for chairman of the Georgia GOP Inc. that will never be disclosed? I think they should go in and look at his finances to see how much of the Frost money is in his bank account. That's my opinion.
Well, you would expect that with both SEC and the FBI involved in the investigation, they'll be looking at all the folks that are close to this. And I have reason to suspect that they're probably looking at, the Josh McCoons of the world, because they do appear to be tied very closely, both in operations and in the GOP and perhaps in these other things. We don't know, but sure.
Well, I can tell you one. I can tell you one person they're not going to be looking at. That's me. Yeah, don't you remember back in the old days?
Yeah, when you were the nefarious bad guy?
I was the bad guy. And I'll tell you the one thing. I'll tell you what they did accomplish. They did accomplish keeping me away from the checkbook. They were so much. You can't. You got to laugh, but you remember the fear of keeping me away from everything.
Yeah.
Things have a way of working out for the best, huh? BKP.
Well, obviously, lots more to come on First Liberty. Lots more to come on the individuals involved here, and I know you too, Brian, are going to continue to report and press on this. I would suggest to those that up to this point have been silent and yet play a critical role, especially in the GOP. The longer the silence continues, the worse it looks. So,
well, Bill, we want to win in 2026.
That's
we want
the whole
to win.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to win. So they need to flush all this out right now. And for anyone out there that's reading the dad's statement, the apology statement, let me just be clear. That's an attorney written statement. We're cooperating. Okay. So if you're out there and you're putting on social media, well, they're taking responsibility. That's an attorney statement saying, you're in really deep. We might want to say, we're going to work with everybody.
Yeah. And it says, and specifically it says, It's coming from Brand Frost for he excludes others who clearly had a role in this stuff. So
BKP, where can people hear your show?
Monday through Friday at 8 to 10 a.m. We look at national and international affairs at 10 a.m. every Monday through Friday. We put 1 hour dedicated to Georgia. We call it the Georgia Hour, and that is voiceofruralamerica.com, voiceofruralamerica.com. You can look me up on Twitter, voice@am. Send me a message, and but Monday through Friday.
Cool. Bill, what else you got?
That's it for today. Like I said, there's got to be more coming. We know it, and we'll be here with our catcher mitt to grab it and get it out to folks.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight, and then eventually I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like you had a stroke. You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition, and sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back. Cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
Welcome back to the SCIF. Let me just give a shout out to Nucleo Boost. This is the package. These are the capsules that are new. You can go to cdmnutrition.com. A lot of people don't like the powder. I like the powder and yogurt, but a lot of people just want to take a capsule. So you can get those at cdmnutrition.com. We're going to have Dr. Waterman on. He's an expert in micronutrition soon, and you'll be hearing more from him. But this is a fantastic product. Gives you everything to fill the potholes in your body that your body needs for nutrition so you can fight disease. This is really important. And I also want to give a shout out to my book, Currency. Please check it out. Hold on. Let me just get that. There we go. This is it, Currency. So if you're looking for that beach read, go to historyofbooks.com, Vindicta, our joint venture with History of Books, and check out my novel, Currency. I am told that feeling of just not wanting to stop reading. It's a great page turner, and you'll learn a lot about finance, about history of the U.S., the Founding Fathers, all the way through today, what's happening. Very extremely prescient book. That's Currency by L Todd Wood at historyofbooks.com. Let me just let you think about what's going on in Georgia. You have a $140 million Ponzi scheme run by a family in Georgia, extremely tied into the Georgia GOP, that was harvesting $140 million from investors and then sending it to Georgia GOP candidates. You saw a very similar situation with the Georgia GOP trust in Fulton County, where they were harvesting money. To be seen, we don't have proof, but I think BKP is really on it when he says we need to look at Josh McCoon and other bank accounts where this money was flowing into. The Frost family. I think there's more to this. I can't prove it yet, but we're going to watch this case very intentionally. The Republican Party in Georgia has been stolen from the people. That is a fact. Brian Kemp said so himself, that we have to move away from the Georgia Republican Party to a more corporate fascist structure. That's what he's built with all these corporations in like 30 different counties across Georgia that are the Georgia GOP Inc. They're not per Georgia political party law. They are NGOs, and you know what's going on with NGOs. This is the Soros method. And we think the Republican Party was stolen from the people in Georgia. It's not cool, and we're going to stay on it. And it's a story that can't go away because it's being replicated all across the country, where our government is being stolen from us for a fascist, tyrannical regime. And it's all tied together with Ukraine, all of it. So stay with us. More to come at the SCIF. Tomorrow we're going to have a bang-up show. We have the Ukraine sit rep at 11 with Pete Blaber. That's going to be a bang-up show because there's so much going on in Ukraine, with Trump now sending offensive weapons through NATO to the Ukrainian forces, which are going to strike deep in Russia with American weapons. And it's Trump's war now. So are we headed to World War III? It sure looks like it. But stay with us. I'm going to end the show here. We'll be back on the SCIF tomorrow, 10 to noon, Monday through Friday Eastern on the SCIF. Thanks for joining us today. Please support our sponsors. Oh, one more thing. You can check out, if you go to the Manhattan.press, I forgot to say this today, and we're having a lot of success here, and we want to keep this going. But Manhattan.press has our book list, which is our competition for the New York Times bestsellers list. If you go to the Manhattan.press, top right menu, the Manhattan bestsellers, you can see all of the books there that simply sell the most. These are editors' picks, but you can go down to adult nonfiction. This is really important. Adult fiction, politics, history, young adult fiction and nonfiction, children's fiction and nonfiction. The best-selling books, simply the best-selling books. No bias, just the numbers. Just the numbers, please. So check them out, and you can buy them by just clicking on checkout. And you can go to buy the book at the CDM bookstore. Buy your books from us, not through Amazon, not through other people. Buy them from us. You can search at the top for any book you want for that beach read. Maybe you have a certain thing in mind. Maybe you have to buy something for your business or for your school. Look and see if we have it at the CDM bookshop and buy it from us and not Amazon, and don't support people that want to kill you. And also, you can get Thierry Laurent's book there, Ukraine, The Warning to the World, which we're selling a lot of also through our joint venture with History of Books. With that, we're done now. See you tomorrow morning at 10. Thank you.